Hey there, hockey fans. Welcome to 97 Octane Hockey, featuring our dynamic trio of hosts, Kirk Morris, Bob Schmidt, and Mike Dursa. The boys are cranking up the heat on Oilers talk, bringing you the hot takes from power plays to hat tricks, with special guests and insider insights. It's hockey talk that takes the game to a whole new level. Get ready for a wild ride through the highs and lows of Oilers hockey. Buckle up, Oilers faithful. This is 97 Octane Hockey.
Good evening, everybody. It's one of the rare nights that we come on before an Oilers game that just happens to fall on a Monday. We chose Mondays because there's not a lot of interference with our show, but tonight there is. There's an Oilers game against the LA Kings tonight at 7:30. So tonight we've got from the Cult of Hockey and the Edmonton Journal, Mr. Bruce McCurdy, a man that I've been coveting for the show since the summer and tried to get him and Low Tide together for this, but I think Alan was going through some heavy things and just didn't kind of work out. But Bruce is here tonight, and we will circle back to Bruce and Alan, I think, in the summer and give Mr. Lowtide a chance to gather himself from everything that's happened to him. And we'll look forward to that. But tonight we got Bruce, and for the first time in a long time, we've got a week of hockey where the Oilers didn't collect a win. Dropping a game to the Bruins, I think overlooking the Minnesota Wild onto the Battle of Alberta and then forgetting to show up for the Battle of Alberta. But tonight they got a big test against the LA Kings. Welcome to the show, Bruce, and Kirk and Bob are here with me as well. What do you think is going to happen tonight, Mr. McCurdy?
Well, a week with no wins except for last Monday afternoon. There was a win probably before your show. So you've already talked about that one at Arizona. So not quite a winless week, but it would be one if they don't pull one off tonight. And against it's fair to say, hated rival from Los Angeles after losing to a different hated rival on Saturday. This is a big test for the Oil, and they need to answer the bell. Ideally, in the first period would be good. Two prior games, they took the first period off on both Friday and Saturday night, and it cost them.
Thank you for correcting me on my errors of my ways of forgetting about Monday.
Well, probably since last show, they probably haven't won a game.
Yeah, we went on Monday at 8:30 is our regular time, but yeah, I forgot it was a afternoon matinee affair where they won two matinee games in a row, which for all those people that say the Oilers can never win a matinee game, I think that theory can go out the window now. They can win matinee games, but can they start winning games at their normal time again? I can show everybody kind of a look at today's lines, which to some people's dismay will feature Mr. Connor McDavid centering Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman. Nuge between Kane and Janmark gets a call up in the top six, maybe a little bit surprising. But I think he was an assist away from a Gordie Howe hat trick on Saturday against the Flames, and maybe he should be McDavid's right winger, and Hyman should be with Nuge and Kane because he definitely came and answered the bell for his captain. Ryan McLeod in between Fogle and Perry, and Derek Ryan centering Dylan Holloway, and the still goalless Connor Brown. Defense pairing's the same. Skinner gets the start again, and for the Kings, Laferriere with Kopitar and Kempe, Moore, Deneau, and Fiala, Byfield, Dubois, and Kaliev. I'm not sure what to make out of the fourth line here, but I'm going to say it's Dolan with Anderson and Lizotte, Gavrikov and Doughty, Moore and Moverare, Englund, Spence, and David Rittich once again gets the start for the Kings. And he had the Oilers number in the last time we faced off against the Kings. You guys thoughts on the big line getting paired together?
Well, first off, Anderson Dolan is one person, so that's a hyphenated name.
Oh.
That winger.
Crack stats guy there again to correct me.
I think first, like, we're not in trouble per se, because if we go by Knobloch's 8-game segments, his goal was to have his team go 5-3 in each segment. So unfortunately, in this segment right now, we're 2-3. So we need to win these next 3 games to live up to his 5-3 segments, to win these segments. I do think so. Our last 2 losses. So the Bruins, like, we scored 5 goals. That should be enough to win there. So and we're up against a top 10 team in the league as well. So that's kind of a tough luck. Some defensive breakdowns and what have you. The Minnesota one, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, Dursa. I don't think we overlooked them at all. In fact, that third period is probably about as dominant as I've seen a team play and not come away with 2 points out of it. Like, they were a machine there, and they just weren't scoring. The Calgary one, that's a disappointing one for me, because I think that's probably our worst game we played since our 6-3 loss to Carolina back in January. And we played maybe 8 minutes of good hockey there in the second period, where we were controlling the play, and Hyman gets us within 2, and then just nothing after that. So that was the real killer for me in that little stretch.
Yeah, I just hope the boys show up tonight. Apart from a few players there from last game, who knew that Janmark could chuck them? That's for darn sure. And a hell of a bout to boot. It's just disappointing. And especially when you see it live like that, and just the apple turnovers, just left, right, and center. Especially that one by Hyman. I to Coleman there. I was just like, what's going on? Just not having your head in the game type of deal. But I don't know, Bruce. This is a polarizing question. I have to ask you this. Goaltending seems to be the revolving door in our every segment here, leading up to every podcast leading up to the trade deadline, and everybody wants to know. And it just seems like people just chuck out names left, right, and center. What's your take on all of this?
Well, Skinner, he certainly had an up and down season, and he was out of the gate poor, and he turned it around brilliantly in December and January. He was among the very best goalies in the NHL. I mean, he was the second star of the month, goalies or skaters, for January, with his and he was just rock solid back there. Like, we score errors, mistakes on scoring chances and goals against and at the Cult of Hockey, and we didn't have Skinner giving up a bad goal for many weeks. I think there was one bad goal in January, and it was on Pickard, where we thought the goalie made a mistake, and and then since the break, he's come back, and he hasn't looked like the same guy. Like, much of his game has collapsed, and I'm seeing, and I don't like to read too much into body language, but boy, when goals go in and his shoulders slump and he looks up at the sky, and you're sort of seeing a guy that looks like he's looking for answers and doesn't have any or many. And I mean, still, like, how many breakaways and clear chances did he stop on Saturday night? Like 3, 4, 5 times he was eyeball to eyeball with some flame that either wasn't covered or he was just breaking right in alone and stopped him. So it's not like it's all on him. He needs a little bit more help, but he also needs to help the boys a little bit more in return. And right now, it's just not really clicking for him or the team.
Is this a good game to rebound against a Kings team, or do you want to be on your A game for these guys? And
any game's a good game to rebound, but
spoken like a true goalie.
Am I confident he's going to rebound tonight? Honestly, I'm not. I'm anxious that he does soon. Tonight would be the ideal time, but he didn't look on Saturday night like a goalie. It was just, had a couple bounces go against him, and he's just ready to take him on next time. And He's not like the fellow who came out after the Tampa Bay game and said, that one's on me. I've got to be better, and I will be. And he came back and he was really good right after, So he needs to get back into that headspace, and the sooner the better.
Oh man. So on the weekend, Bob and I played in the heavy hockey showdown, and Kirk up there mixed tracks for us. Was in control of the beats. What a weekend. I mean, it comes, you look forward to it all year, and it's over in the blink of an eye, but just a fabulous time. And I know you wanted to be there and and couldn't, and I thank you for that. But and your support, just even if it's just mentally, means a lot to us. Huge success, good cause, supporting SACE, and you can still support it through kind of the 50-50. I left my donation page open till I think March 4th, and I think my son Noah's page is actually open till the end of March. I set up his page after thinking about the things I did wrong about mine. So but you can still kind of contribute if you wish. I think the boys are at around 40,000, hoping to maybe even get to 50, because the word is that if they get to 45, that somebody might ante up another 5 just to get us to 50 for that number, which is awesome. Great. I met Dustin Nielsen once before, but first time meeting Tom Gazzola, Matthew Iwanek, Lieutenant Eric, and those guys, and just fabulous. Yeah, Bob was better than me this weekend. I was better than him last year, but
What?
yeah, oh yeah, I got an assist on my first shift last year. You can't top that. But no, it's just a lot of fun. Dash kind of got in a semi scrap with Mr. Savage there, and Mr. Savage kind of learned him a little bit. I guess that wrestling prep, he's going to have to dig in a little harder so he can fight back. But size mismatch for sure. Oh yeah, yeah, and you know what? I guess that's a good segue to something else I wanted to talk about. I was actually disappointed, and I'm a huge Darnell Nurse fan, but that was a game where he needed to, show the Flames that you guys don't fuck with our guys. Like right at the end of the first, when Nuge kind of went down there, he was in the vicinity, and he could have went over to Kadri and did a little bit more than, that wasn't very nice of you. I was disappointed with him in that game. I thought there was a couple opportunities where he needed to bring out the Darnell of old and not care about taking 5 and maybe an extra 2 and getting after it, getting a little bit medieval. I mean, I guess that is old school kind of Neanderthal hockey, but I feel like he needed to do that in that situation. And I don't know if it's a pride thing. Like, if Lucic was on the Flames bench, he probably would have found a way to get into a fight and probably lost one for his team. But to me, it felt like he was too proud to fight somebody that he knew he'd probably beat up, and just left it alone. And I just, Dave Semenko wouldn't do that back in the day. He would have taken care of business. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but those are definitely mine on that one.
I think our Nurse CC pairing has probably been our worst pairing in the last 3 games. Having said that, though, I think overall this season, I don't mind that pairing. For the most part, I think CC's been Mr. Steady back there. I know he gets shit on quite a bit for not producing much offense, but let's face it, we're not looking for offense from him, really. Yeah, I'm one of those people, too, who'd rather see him on the bottom pairing, but he's been, consistent for most of the season. And then, last game was probably his worst game of the season in my mind. I thought he looked lost out there, but so did most of our defensive pairings. Like, when Vinny Desharnais is probably your best D-man in a game, that's not a strong defensive game by our D pairings.
Cece gets dumped on for no offense. He's got 17 points in 55 games, 1 goal, 16 assists plus 10. And every one of those points was at even strength except for one was shorthanded, right? I mean, he's not on the first power play, the second power play. He won't be on the third power play. He does make plays. He does pick up points. I think he's good at pinching and keeping the cycle alive. and he gets zero credit for that. And some corners he gets zero credit for anything.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's just upgrade CC. It's like the two words have been merged, like Nugent and Hopkins. We need to upgrade CC. And I keep saying those same two words over and over and over again. And I don't, it almost seems like the guy's got no fans sometimes. And I just don't understand. Like, he's just a meat and potatoes grinder player. He's got, he gets $3 million a year. It's not like he's got a huge salary. He
Yeah.
plays in the top four. He's been over 20 minutes a game for all 3 years he's here. He plays the Tufts. He's not great, but I don't know why you would expect him to be great. He's a rank and file player. And
We don't need him to be great. We need him to be who he is. Like, he's steady, and we don't need him to produce points. So the fact that he has 17 points, that's great. Good on him. Yeah, he has been that Mr. Steady back there that I've been comfortable. Like, I don't cringe when I see him on the ice. He does what needs to be done out there, and in all honesty, like, this last game to me was an anomaly for Cody CC because he has been Mr. Steady. And yesterday, or the last game, I thought was his worst game of the season. But there's no reason to believe, like, he's never strung like 2 or 3 games like that in a row. So there's no reason for me to believe that he won't be a different Cody CC this game. But you're right, Bruce. There for a while there, I thought Upgrade was his first name.
My friend of the show and 2-time guest Aaron Rollick says CC equals Fogelin. The only counter argument I would have to that is Fogey would shed the flippers on occasion. I don't see CC doing that.
Yeah, well, he filled in for
I
Larson.
don't know. It just seems like.
Go ahead.
Bruce. I was just gonna say, it seems like every time you flip on Twitter, everybody's just have to have that whipping boy, right, Bruce? Like, it's never ending. Everybody's screaming for a trade or what, but I don't know. I don't know.
I gotta highlight this because it's a pretty good chirp, and I kind of deserve it. He says you play one game this year and you'll probably talk is probably what he meant to say, but yeah, no, there's something to that. Yeah, and about the mitt drop, I guess. Well, I didn't even fight my son during the game. It was after, and we're on the same team. But oh man,
The sense in the dressing room. That's that.
Yeah. There's a great picture of Michelle and Emma and their line mate there, and kind of off in the distance in the background is me and Noah he's got no shirt on, I've got no jersey on, and we're ready to square.
You touched on one thing there. Kirk, about Hyman's giveaway, and obviously it was a noticeable giveaway for all of us, whether you're at the game or not. It was atrocious. It was basically like something you do when you're 13 kind of thing. But to be like, it actually almost overshadowed everything he did do, because I actually thought overall he was probably our best player that game. And that may have been the only mistake he made that game. That was at least that noticeable. But my goodness, was it ever noticeable?
Well, it just seems like when they make mistakes, they're catastrophic. Like they've wandered away from just keeping it simple and defensively keeping it simple. And just missed assignments, not even taking a look where you're going to pass. It's a lot of no look passes I seen, especially there at the game on Saturday. It's just too passive. It was frustrating to watch. I don't know about you there, Bruce, but wouldn't you want the team to, play with a little bit more structure here as of late? Or they certainly showed it there in that first half of that 16-game winning streak. Like it just seems like it's all evaporated now.
Yeah, well, Hyman's giveaway. I mean, let's talk about Evan Bouchard trying to go over the offensive blue line 2 minutes into the first period. And he gets checked, and it's a jailbreak the other way. And Kadri gets behind McDavid, and pass comes through. Well, it's just in. McDavid's not the defenseman. Bouchard is. There's safer plays to be made. And your first shift of the game is maybe not the time to be beating guys one-on-one on either blue line. And, Hyman made mistakes. Like, you could go through the list. A lot of guys made poor plays or poor execution or poor decision or both at once, which is never a good formula. And it was The first, right up to the 3-0 goal was shoddy. And they caught up, and then Calgary got the 3-goal lead back, and they wound up winning by 3. Like, that was the decisive part of the game, was the first 16 minutes of the first period.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point, because Ekholm was kind of on an island on that whole play. And, McDavid rarely loses a foot race, but everybody's highlighting the McDavid not staying stride for stride with Kadri, and nobody touches on Bouchard kind of abandoning ship on the whole play. So that's a good point by you.
His turnover, but Kadri played it smart. He's a cagey old so-and-so, and he kind of leveraged himself against McDavid and pushed off like a smart wide receiver will do at just the right moment, and gained a tiny bit of separation. And then the pass was perfect. Like, he was stretching to tip it in. There was no way. Once McDavid got, back a quarter step, there was no way to gain it back before the puck was in the net. He was clearly very upset about it. And minutes later, McDavid made a really good back check on Backlund. But then a few minutes after that, he let Hannafin get away from him, and he potted the 3-0 goal. So, he was part of the problem, at least on the defensive side of the puck.
As funny as this is going to sound, that game was my Christmas party for my work, because up in Grand Prairie here, you've got probably about 75% Oiler fan and about a 10% Calgary Flame fan, and then the rest are made up of every other team in the league, and I would say about 10% is Leafs fans. But so I'm in a box, because we got a box for the game. And it's 3-0, and these, there's 3 Flames fans on the staff there, and man, you would have thought there was 100 of them. They're just, and last year we did the same thing, and Edmonton, I think, lost 4-2 last year. It was kind of the same thing. Game was over at the end of the first period, and I'm suffering through the rest of it. What made my night, though, is I guess during the game, somebody pushed my donations up to my goal.
Nice.
And then I woke up in the morning, and ironically, somebody donated another $97 to my account. Kind of the name of our podcast, but $97 is provides an hour of counseling at SACE. So for me, I mean, it was a perfect way to end that, and kind of got me over that stinky hockey game. But tonight's a new test, and pissy dry, I guess, sort of gets his way, after getting kind of a little talking to, I think, over a bit of a lazy penalty there. Now he's getting promoted to, or just undisciplined, I guess. Gets promoted to the top line, if you want to call that a promotion. But he's up there with Connor tonight, and I don't know if it'll end that way, but that's how they're going to start.
They played that way in the third period on Saturday. I've noticed Knobloch likes to change his lines when things aren't going right to start the third.
Yeah.
And then he often will stick with those same lines to start the next game.
Yeah.
And that happened way back in the Carolina game that was mentioned earlier, where the Oilers absolutely stunk it out in the first period, and they got behind. And that time they separated McDavid and Draisaitl after the second period. That was the night that the two of them had 0.01 expected goals in the game. They were just absolutely hopeless. They had nothing going on. They separated them, and then the next game they kept them separated, and that's when they started the 8-game winning streak, when they beat Washington 5-0. But he's done that. Knobloch's done that a few times, where he switched up for the third and just carried over, and he's carrying over. Like, having all three, like his top 3 forwards on one line, is really pushing the envelope. And I'm interested to see how it works against the Kings, because they're 3 deep and pretty strong centers. And Nuge playing center on the second line, he's going to have a challenge tonight. And I think possibly that's why Janmark got pushed up onto that line as a stronger defensive player to support Nuge. and maybe take care of the fistic business if it comes up. By the way, his one career fight, the one other guy I knew he could fight was Nick Cousins, of all people. I looked it up on hockeyfights.com. I actually watched the fight, and Janmark pounded him. Nick Cousins, who's since become quite notorious. This was back when he was in Vegas. Janmark was in Vegas for 2022. And he easily, comfortably won that fight. And he's a tougher guy than we might suppose.
That was like an ECHL kind of fight. Like, it wasn't much holding and just casually. He was just chucking. I was impressed.
They don't call him the janitor for nothing.
He's cleaning up.
So taking out the trash. Yeah, taking out the trash.
We're going to go to our 3-minute commercial break, and then we'll come back. We'll end tonight around 20 after 7, so everybody can get settled in for the game and the puck drop. That's probably going to happen at about 7:45, but we'll take a quick break here, and we'll be back shortly. I just got to find it. Oh, there we go. Thanks for being here for the first half of our show, 97 Octane Hockey. It's your passion that fuels our game. We will be back in 3 minutes to refuel after the fastest commercial on ice.
I'm Connor McDavid.
How would you describe your game?
I think just speed. I think that's the main thing. My game is all about speed. Speed with the puck. I think a lot of guys have a tendency to, when they get the puck, slow down and want to look for a play and all that. But I think if you could do all that, all with skating, it makes it pretty dangerous.
Edmonton Oilers would like to select with their first pick from the Erie Otters, Connor McDavid.
Under pressure, no more time. Can we make a move? Overthinking, you and I. What do we have to lose? 'Cause I'm wasting all my time thinking of the things we could do. If you gave me one more sign, I could find a way to break through, a way to break through.
He's still a hard act to follow, but tonight we're joined, if you're just tuning in, Bruce McCurdy is with us from the Cult of Hockey and the Edmonton Journal. Probably Bruce trying to frantically get ready to take his notes and have all his material ready. You do a fabulous job, with your articles and on the Cult of Hockey with David Staples, and we're glad you're joining us tonight.
Thank you. It's David's turn to grade tonight, but we'll be working on our grade A shots project together, which we do like live during the games or semi-live, just video reviewing of all the high-end scoring chances at both ends, and trying to figure by the eye test who is actually involved in those plays, not just who's on the ice, but who's involved in that. That's a big part of informing us as to how we do our player grades.
I didn't give you a chance to prep for this one, but this is something that came up during the Heavy Hockey Showdown. How do penalty shots work for plus minus? Because I wanted to be on the ice for a penalty shot for us, and because I was thinking it would help my plus minus, but somebody said that doesn't count for your plus minus, and I'm like, I don't know.
I think only for the shooter, because he's the only guy on the ice. And it's kind of like a power play, 1-on-0 in a sense. But I think the shooter gets a plus if he scores, and of course nothing if he doesn't. So
it didn't matter. It kind of got thrown out anyways, because like last year when we did it, anytime there was a penalty, it was just a penalty shot. But this year we actually had penalties where you had to go serve your 2 minutes in the box. So I was on the ice for a 2-minute kill, and I won a draw clean back to Dash, and he gave it to Lotsberg, and Lotsberg pretty much killed the whole penalty by himself in the other end. It was funny. I was playing center. I win the draw back to Dash. Dash gives it to Lotsberg. He bear jumps up with Lotsy, and those two are playing forward, and I'm back on D with with Dash for pretty much the whole power play. But enough about me.
I want to touch a little bit about Janmark being up on the top six now. So I think Bruce, you make a good point there that maybe he's getting brought up there to help with the defensive side of things on the top six. But I wonder if maybe a little bit is also maybe a bit of a reward from last game, not necessarily the fight, but he actually did have a pretty strong game. The whole fourth line did, for that matter. So yeah. I wonder if he's getting a bit rewarded, and maybe that fight just kind of put him a bit over the edge, thinking, well, maybe you can take care of some of our top six guys while you're up there as well.
Well, he's got 3 goals in the last 4 games.
It's on a heater.
Don't look now, but that's more than Connor and Leon combined. Might as well get the hot stick up there. Him and Fogel got 3, and Hyman got 5. And, there's been goals scored in those games. But Janmark's been finally, after having 1 goal all year, but suddenly he's up to 4. And, normally you'd expect about 10 goals from the guy, and hopefully he'll at least get close to that with this little burst. But he certainly was due. And he's delivered a few, and we'll see. Second line on the Oilers. There's 2 different second lines. There's the one with Leon, and then there's the one without Leon, because they've stacked the first line, and they're 2 very different things. They'll get this, the second shift, but will they be expected to score that second line the way they would if Connor and Leon were deployed on 2 separate lines? Probably not.
This comment, this came before the break, but first goal, first PP for once, Oil. Yeah, in order to get a power play, though, you got to be working hard, and it doesn't seem like that's the recipe that these guys have followed in the first periods as of late.
I don't really question their work ethic as much. I think they just tend to be a little bit brain dead at times, almost. I do think, you see guys are moving their legs. I thought McDavid was still skating fast in the first period. I thought, obviously a guy like Holloway was all over the place. McLeod was skating fast, but he was unfortunately on the outskirts too often in that last game. But he had his wheels going. I think a lot of times, what I hate is when people start questioning. You go on Twitter and the guys are like, oh, these guys have checked out and they've stopped caring and that sort of stuff. I don't think that's the case at all. I think, if anything, they almost care too much. And then when things aren't going the way that they're hoping it goes, their play starts going on a frustrated level where their brain just kind of shuts down. They start making these stupid mistakes and forcing stuff and maybe trying to do too much themselves in the defensive zone or what have you. But I definitely don't think it's a matter of them just not caring or checking out.
Yeah, same with the Bouchard mistake. It wasn't because he wasn't trying. He just,
Yeah.
made a bad decision. And he got stripped of the puck. Well, it's maybe his head wasn't fully into the end of the game, or maybe a little impatient to try and make something happen when the play was be a little safe with it and get it deep, and hopefully set up on the cycle. But you can't just say, well, it's because he didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
It's harsh, and a lot of the reactions in Fanville or social media are
Just
really that way.
Just a quick question there, Bruce. Like, do you think it's when it comes to their shooting, rather than trying to pass it, defer? What's your take on it? I know at times you want to be unselfish. You want to give another player on your team a hell of a clear shot to make a perfect goal. But at times, don't you just want to see more shooting just to get the puck on the net and see what happens? Because that was another frustrating thing that I saw there on Saturday. It was just defer, and then they boggle the puck and it's back in their own end.
Yeah, well, sometimes the best pass is a rebound. When you shoot out, you've got a teammate going to the net, rather than trying to feed through a couple of sticks and pairs of skates to get it over to him, fire it off the goalie's pad, or maybe just beat the goalie outright, and you don't even need the rebound. You're giving yourself really a couple of different ways you can score when you let fly. There's been a lot of observation of McDavid forcing passes when he's been in good shooting position. That's an observation I've made as well. My colleague David Staples wrote about that this morning, and one thing that he pointed out that I hadn't quite been aware of, but I've looked it up on Hockey Reference, and it's true. McDavid's shot attempts is almost the same level as last year. He's getting less shots through on net. Like like he's typically around 67% of the shots he attempts are on goal. And this year it's like 53%. It's like way off. Shots are getting blocked, or he's missing the target, and of course he's hitting the post a lot. He's second. He's one behind Matthews for hitting the most iron this season. And he's like 30 goals behind Matthews, and he's got same number of posts. So some of it's shooting a little bit in bad luck, but it's maybe that they're defending him a little different. They're packing the slot more, and he's not getting certainly not getting as many breakaways and sort of clean one-on-ones with the goalie as we're used to seeing with him. And anyway, it's not like he's not trying to shoot, but it's just they're not clicking. And he's almost never seemed to be beating a goalie clean with like a 25-foot shot, which we saw quite a number of times in his 64-goal season just a year ago. 52 weeks ago today, on February 27th, Connor McDavid scored his 49th and 50th goals of the season, and right now he's got 21.
Wow.
Hard to believe.
It seemed like last year he would like to take the shots through D-men's feet a lot more, using them as screens and that. And I think he's kind of backed off a little bit on that, but I don't have any evidence.
On the other hand, he may well get 100 assists, be the first player of the century to do that. So we can't be too critical. It's just kind of odd how the splits of his game have gone from last year leading the league in both goals and assists, which he also was the first player of the century to do that, and to this extremes that we're seeing this year with more than 3 assists for every goal.
Bruce, I find right now this year fans are treating him like they used to treat Ales Hemsky. And I sit here and I'm like, I'm not going to yell at this guy to shoot while I'm sitting on my couch watching a game. I'm not at that level. So being hypercritical of this guy, you need to shoot. He's looking for his spots. I don't think he's saying, if I'm here, I'm not going to shoot. I think he just feels like he's not in that right spot to let it go. So he isn't. And I think he is trying to, his focus is a little bit different. I'll concede to that. I think he's wanting to make more people better than just himself. Like, I don't think he really cares about, beating the the 64 goal total or whatever. I think his goal this year is winning a Stanley Cup, and that's where he's at.
He had a great deadpan today. I don't know if you fellas saw it, where the media asked him
Yeah.
that, and he said, "No, I've decided I'm not ever going to shoot the puck anymore this season. I'm just going to pass it every time I got it." And it's just complete deadpan. He didn't, not even a little hint
Smirk.
of the corner of his mouth. And it was, yeah. The thing about selfishness and unselfishness, the most unselfish player ever to play in the eyes of many are, of course, the great Wayne Gretzky, who had 11 seasons in a row of 100 assists, which has only been done by 2 other players once each in the history of the league. Yet Gretzky was just selfish enough. He wanted the guy in the best position to shoot the puck, but he also was the guy who recognized that he was the guy in the best position oftentimes. And in about his 3rd season, the year he went from 55 to 92, and his shots went up by like 100 shots that year. And he just decided, when I'm in position, I'm not going to make the extra pass. If the goal is there, I'm going to take it. And he was, he was just selfish enough to shoot when he was the best guy to be shooting. And that's the ideal balance that you want your players to have. And of course, in the spur of any moment, a decision can be made that's right or wrong. But on balance, you want your guys thinking, I can score or set somebody up.
What's your Bruce? What's your take on Corey Perry's 11 games as an Oiler? I mean, he's 5 points. He's -3, 33 minutes penalties. What's your assessment been on Perry so far, wearing the blue and orange?
Yeah, I like his play in the offensive zone. He's smart. He's cagey. He's nasty. He's really good. I've noticed this ever since he was in London, how great he is right in around the cage, especially around the sides of the net. He's got these good moves where he can, control and protect the puck and bring it right out to the doorstep. On the other hand, his lack of speed is really stands out, and it stood out in a bad way defensively. In the last 4 games, Perry's -7. And he's played 45 minutes, and the Oilers have been outscored 8-1. And some of those goals have been at least partly on him. And, some of it's just luck of the draw. You have these little hot and cold streaks in short periods of time that don't necessarily mean much. But 8 goals against in 4 games and a couple of them, he's been, fairly badly burned. He either wasn't fast enough to keep up with the counterattack, or he was just slow in coverage, beaten off the wall. Different things have gone wrong. And so I won't say I'm officially worried about it yet, but I'm concerned, and something to watch for is how does he handle his assignment on the defensive side of the puck. Otherwise, there's lots to like about the player, and he's fun to watch. So,
yeah, he's definitely not a shrieking violet out there.
I learned to like him when he played for Team Canada a few times. A lot of people really loathe this player and have no use for him. And of course, his years in Anaheim. But, to me, like a guy like Ryan Kessler that played in Anaheim, or who played in Vancouver, who also played for Team USA. I never had any reason to root for the guy or like him whatsoever. Perry, when he was on my side wearing the red maple leaf, I was, I can get behind this guy. He's filthy, but in a good way, so it was a fairly easy adaptation to make for me to adopt him as one of the Oil, but he's nearing the end of the line for sure. And the question is how much really will he help in the 200-foot game?
Like, I guess the last thing we'll touch on, this is a good segue to this, is you and I both, I think, kind of right away when he knocked the stick out of Gibson's hand and Kane put the puck in the net, with shades of J.S. Jaguar and Ryan Smith going at it, and man, I mean that Smitty thing I think takes the cake, but it's ironic that they both happen in Anaheim too. But man, I don't think I'll ever not watch that clip because you posted it on my post right away of Smitty driving Jaguar nuts.
I laugh every time I watch it.
Doesn't it? I mean, I can't honestly. For me, that is the funniest moment I think in my fandom as an Edmonton Oiler. And second to that for me is when Patrick Maroon tugged on Brent Burns' beard, and I thought all hell was going to break loose, and Burns got up just laughing at Maroon.
That was 1 second. The thing with Jaguar and Smitty was about 5 minutes, and Jaguar just completely lost his shit. He took 3 penalties and a misconduct, all on Smith, and the Oilers just kept pumping in goals on the 5-on-3s.
I mean, at some point as a coach, don't you have to pull him?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I think we'll leave it on that note because that's pretty hilarious. Bruce, where can people find you, and what's coming up for you?
Oh, well, I'm at Bruce McCurdy on Twitter, and you can find me at the Cult of Hockey on the Edmonton Journal site. And what's coming up for us is sort of same old. We cover each game every night as it happens. We do player grades, and on the off days in between, we do just general analysis and try a little bit on the analytical side, but we try and find the balance between that and just more general eyeball observations and consideration of our focus almost entirely on the Edmonton Oilers and what's going on in this city.
This one, go ahead, Bobby.
Well, I just want to quickly say I really enjoyed the player grades thing, and every so often I'll do my own little report card as I'm watching a game here. If I'm watching it by myself and keeping notes, and I try to compare to see how it lines up with what you guys do. So I always enjoy that little bit of an education I get from you guys and how you analyze and break down those games.
Well, I'll say this: it's not an exact science, right? It's more jazz than sheet music, and but it's just the grades themselves, which some people deem are important to me. Then they're a single-digit opinion, and they're just basically a hook to hang the comments from, which are more, about specific to what the player contributed within the game. But it's a nice mechanism to do that. That gives us the opportunity to consider every single player, usually 19, that were involved in any given game.
You got a last word, Kirk? You want to say to Bruce?
Yeah, I just want to say I enjoy your hockey knowledge as a whole, like the Oilers' history as a whole, like right from the team's inception there in '72. I don't want to speak for the other fellows, but I'd love to talk hockey with you, forever and a day there, especially with the Oilers' history. If you want to come back, maybe even during the summer or even earlier, just talk about the Oilers' history. I think I listened to you and Eric Friesen talk there on the 99 Forever podcast, and just blown away, man. Honestly. So thank you for coming on.
Oilers Live with Michael as well. We talked about the 80s a little bit, but I was just so lucky. A 15-year-old hockey nut moved to Edmonton in 1971, and the Oilers got announced as a WHA like almost right away, and next year we had a team, and before the decade was out, we were in the NHL. I mean, who could have seen that coming? And yeah, it just everything broke right, and then it broke right again, and we got Wayne Gretzky and hit the mother lode in the draft and had one of the great teams of all time. I had a season ticket and went to every game, and it was just fantastic.
I've been fascinated because you kind of have a wealth of hockey knowledge, and you're almost like my dad, where you can recall things that happened 40 years ago. You just pull the photograph out of the back and bring it to the front, and you take everybody right there with you, and it's fascinating. That and your love of the cosmos is also fascinating. This was only about 50 minutes, so we didn't have time to get into how to solve all the world's problems, but we'll leave that for another show. Thank you for doing, the articles for Heavy Hockey on behalf of all of us. It means a lot to us that, you're willing to help us out and do our shows. And, we love you. We love what you do. And thank you for this. I'll say hopefully the Oilers can do us a favor and get back in the win column tonight. I don't have any predictions on it, and I'm not making them because I've been wrong for a couple weeks in a row here, so I'm tired of that. Keep your sticks on the ice. Keep reaching for the stars. Go Oilers, go! We'll have this out on Spotify, Apple Music, all those places tomorrow. I don't think I'll do it tonight because I'm absolutely zonked from the weekend. But thanks for being here. We'll catch you again next time.
Thank you.